How we doing, everybody? Well, we're in quite a bit of a roll this week. I did a video yesterday, now I'm doing another video today. Yesterday's video was on reparations for slavery and white privilege and why I think it's bullshit. But this time I'm going to go into the subject I originally thought of doing yesterday. And nowadays, we are going to go into the topic of wimpy men nowadays and the status of men and what needs to be changed. Now, what I noticed ever since high school was that with a lot of guys now, they're actually wimps. A lot of guys nowadays act like women in the way they talk and the way they behave. They also dress in a lot of these feminine style clothing, and it's perpetuated in our popular culture nowadays with men's fashion. And that also, what is going on with a lot of guys is that they pretty much let women control their lives rather than controlling themselves and leading their own direction. See, what has been going on in popular culture when you see all these movies and TV shows and commercials in which the guys are usually the ones who are completely clueless and don't know what to do with themselves and where they're going with their life, and then they have their woman who's leading the way and telling them what to do and where to go. I mean, the fact is, I don't think if you're a man who's in that sort of position, that you are a real man. Honestly, if you ask me, you are in fact a pussy. Now, my dad told me this a while ago, that women are there to domesticate men. And yeah, that is true. I think that if you are a good woman, is that you help to domesticate the man that you're with. But there are a lot of guys who are honestly spineless jellyfish that are with women that will use and abuse them and use them for whatever they can get from them. They take their money, they take their certain assets, they go ahead and just use them like a horse, a carriage horse with blinders on. And in that sort of situation, for me, honestly, I would have to say I would much rather be a free stallion than a castrated show horse. You know, I'm better off being single and alone, doing what I want whenever I want with life, than to be with a woman who is basically an entitled, spoiled brat who wants to use me to get whatever she wants, whenever she wants, without bringing anything to the table and without working for it. Now, here are some reasons why I think that the state of men nowadays is the way it is, especially in American popular culture with these guys, with a lot of these guys who are acting extremely feminine or just not like men, and you see every day and you see in our popular culture. I think there are a few reasons why this is the case. For one thing, I think that throughout the past few generations is that men have been indoctrinated and brought up to become more feminized in popular culture. I remember I watched this one interview a few years back of Judge Joe Brown on Vlad TV, and he talked about how the United States culture really started to change back in the late 60s. There was a civil rights movement and there was a hippie movement, but he talked about there was also this movement about teaching young boys to be more like girls because they wanted young boys to become less aggressive and less violent because boys become men who are responsible for wars and crimes and whatever. And it changed in which, boys, when you hear them on the playground, they don't yell anymore. They're screaming like girls. And they are brought up to become more like girls for this concept of them to become less aggressive and less violent because that's a negative masculine trait. But the thing is that in that sort of concept, you're throwing out the baby with the bathwater. I mean, yeah, sure, there are men who are very aggressive and very violent, but that is only a very small percentage of the male population. I mean, most guys are decent and peaceful, and they want to get along with everyone else just fine and just live a good life. And when you do this whole thing to men, over time, what happens is that you are going to get these men who are basically hollow, spineless jellyfish that are not going to be real men anymore. I mean, I put it this way. A lot of guys nowadays know how to play video games, everything about playing video games, but they don't even know how to change a tire in their car. They don't know how to change their oil, and they don't even know how to start a fire. Manly things that you would expect for men back then. So here's something else, is that why is it I think that a lot of guys nowadays are wimps? Well, I'm going to say something else that I know is probably going to be very upsetting to women who are watching this, like for my female friends or other women that will watch this, but I will have to bring you ladies in on this too. Is that, you ladies have been the ones that have been mainly endorsing for men to become nice and more like girls and whatever. But then you go ahead and you complain about, well, where's all the real men? How come I can't get a man who will take care of me and lead the way or whatever? Well, the thing is that you are endorsing men who are wimps because you are brainwashed with this idea that men need to be more like girls to make a better world, when it does the exact opposite. You have men that are lacking confidence and they don't know how to handle themselves in the world because they were honestly raised to be pussies. And that has a very negative effect on relationships and society as a whole, because men are not in their place in which they are the ones who are responsible for a lot of the big things in society. I mean, men are leaders. Men are builders of our cities and our roads. Men are the ones who, create most of the biggest innovations and inventions that has bettered our society. So when you have wimpy men that are not confident in themselves, in order to be able to be the leaders and innovators and movers and shakers of society, then society is going to hold itself back. But another thing leading to how women have played a part in turning men into wimps is that this is what I notice from a lot of other guys who are around my age and younger kids and now younger boys, is that a lot of these boys don't have their fathers in their life. Most marriages in the United States end in divorce, and oftentimes it results with the mother taking sole custody of the kids. But in my opinion, that's not good for the sons, because a young boy needs his father or a positive male role model in his life in order to teach him how to become a real man. See, a woman can only do so much. Women do offer some great insight for young boys on how to become a better man and all that. But a woman does not know, I don't care what anyone says, no matter who you are, where you come from, what culture, women don't know what it's like to be men. Only men know what it's like to be men. Only a man can shape up and discipline a young boy ultimately to become a man. I mean, one of the main things I notice with a lot of these young guys who are raised by single moms or raised solely by their mothers is that they end up either becoming wimps or they end up becoming out of control and mischievous, getting into bad behavior, because they don't have their fathers around to shape them up and discipline and show you the techniques and the tricks and the values of what it takes to become a real man. I mean, that's why I'm grateful that I have my dad in my life. At some point we are on bad terms within recent years and we didn't get along, but we're okay right now. And I can look back when I was growing up, and I'm grateful that I had my father in my life, because my dad, he took me and my younger brother out to do a lot of good things that you expect fathers to do generations ago. He took us hiking up in the mountains. He took us to go camping in places. He taught me the values of hard work by doing some projects around the house, chores, raking, and cutting up branches for wood and all this other stuff. And, I also got to work for him at his BMW auto mechanic shop for 6 years, which I got a lot out of, not just for working on cars, but understanding what it's like to do business with others, how to do thorough hard work, building skills, how to interact with people on a professional level, all these other things. I got a lot from my dad that honestly I wouldn't be able to get from my mother. And at the time when all this stuff was going on, my mom wasn't in a good place in her life anyways, because she got lost in the lifestyle a bit because of drugs, and she fell apart after my parents' divorce. But she's okay now. We're moving forward, and we're going off in a better direction with ourselves now. Now, the last thing I have to say about why is it that men are pretty wimpy nowadays. Okay, how are we doing, sir? Why is that a lot of guys are wimpy now? Is because men and women too have been raised to believe that they need to be in a relationship. Now, this ties into my previous video on relationships should be a want, not a need. See, with the whole idea that men need to be with women, that creates a whole void within themselves of them feeling insecure and not happy unless they're in a relationship. And this is one thing I noticed too, is that a lot of guys would give up themselves and who they truly are just to be in a relationship with this woman. So they're willing to go ahead and compromise themselves of their dreams, of their hobbies and what they really like to do, of spending quality time with their friends and family, and even just their money and all this other stuff, just so they can be with this woman who's going to go ahead and potentially, in some cases, ruin their lives. And here's a few examples. One is personal and two are public examples. But a personal example that I found out was there was this guy who I befriended for a bit at Red Lobster, who was a guy who was cooking for 9 years. And he worked for the company before around in the Palm Desert restaurant when it first started. And then he moved over to Phoenix, but then he came back on over here. And I asked him, so why did you move back from Phoenix to here? And he said that he got involved in this relationship. I don't know if she was his wife or girlfriend, but this relationship with this girl who was an Instagram model that wasn't using any of, for some reason, her social media as a way to make an income or bring anything to the table. And he was working 80 hours a week to support him and his lazy supermodel girlfriend. And he said that he tried to go ahead and tell her that, hey, you need to help bring some money to the table and actually do something with yourself other than Instagram, but she wouldn't listen. And he said that it got so bad that he had to go and get a lawyer involved to get him out of the situation. I think, what? Why? Why would you do that? Why couldn't you just tell her, if you're not going to bring any money to the table and help me out, then you got to leave? Again, men are raised to think they need to be in a relationship. That's why he was in the situation, because honestly, he was a wimp. He was too much of a wimp to set up boundaries with this girl that he was with, and he just let her take advantage of him. And here's another public examples. Like 2.5 years ago when Rob Kardashian, that whole Rob Kardashian and Blac Chyna situation, in which Rob Kardashian tried to expose Blac Chyna as being this whore. Blac Chyna got involved with Rob Kardashian, and then Rob Kardashian thought he met the woman of his dreams. And then he went out and bought her all these things for her, I don't know exactly, but like a house or a car and all this stuff. And then he even paid for her plastic surgery so she would look nicer. And then eventually he has a kid by her, or several kids. And then he wants to see about getting married to her. And then what happens is that she sends him all these posts and videos of her having sex with all these different guys so that they would pay for her rent and her car and all these other stuff. And then he gets all heartbroken and shows the stuff on the internet. And now he's in a position in which they're not together anymore, and he's got to pay all this money in child support and alimony. And it's like, oh my God. What a pussy. What a fucking pussy he was. And then here's another example of a guy who honestly was a pussy. Was the whole Matthew Santoro and Nicole Arbor situation. These two popular YouTubers who got together, and Nicole Arbor being this, honestly, this bitch that will say anything or do anything online to get attention, got involved with Matthew Santoro, who is a known YouTuber that makes all these interesting list videos. And then they get together, and I'm pretty sure, she was basically with him so she can get more notoriety on the internet. And then Matthew Santoro breaks up with her and makes this video of my abuse story, talking about how Nicole Arbor was manipulative and was physically abusive towards him and all this other stuff. And then he was crying in the video. And I just thought, here's the thing, man. Look, abuse is real, but you gotta be a real man and just not put up with abuse from anybody. And the only reason why you stuck with her for a while and you're doing this is because you honestly didn't have the balls to go ahead and stand up for yourself and tell her, get the fuck out of my life, okay? Because Nicole Arbor, all she is an attention whore that is a liar, and she's manipulative. She is a lot of different things, like red flags and examples of a woman that you want to stay away from, okay? But why is it that I think a lot of these guys put themselves in this situation? Because they feel as though they need to be in a relationship with a woman in order to be happy, even when it comes to being with a woman who basically is there to ruin their lives and make their lives miserable. And not only happens to them, but it happens to a lot of guys that I've seen. They end up in relationships in which they're just treated like a mule, and they're beaten up like dogs, and they say, "Oh, I'm so happy, I met the love of my life," but really that they're not. And I'm seeing all this stuff, and I'm a person who is single, and I'm just thinking, you know what? I'm honestly not missing out on all that much if that's what a lot of these relationships are based on. So here's what I think about the whole situation, okay, guys? You got to come to a point in which women are not like your basic fruits and vegetables and all those essential foods that you need. You need to come to a point in which women are like a German chocolate cake. It's something that you want, but it's not something that you need to make you happy, okay? And a lot of our society is based on people feeling as though they need something outside of ourselves. We need something outside of ourselves to make us happy. But really, we don't. We need ourselves. We need to find our sense of purpose and happiness and direction by ourselves. I think about relationships should not be involved with manipulation, emotional and physical abuse, and trying to change someone into something that they're not and never going to be. I think that relationships, again, should be based on two people who are working together and loving one another. I understand you are your own person, I am my own person, but I'm going to work together with you to make you a better version of who you are, and you do the same for me. That's what I think a real relationship should be based on. And a lot of people just don't do that. And the reason why is because men and women do not set up proper expectations for themselves and set up boundaries with others who come into their lives. That's why for me, I know that a lot of women are attracted to me. I see twinkles in their eye when I'm going to work. I can see them, "Hi, James." And every once in a while, they tap on you on the shoulder. Because that's what girls do, is that when girls like you, a lot of times they'll pass by you with a smile and a twinkle in their eye, and they'll tap you on the shoulder. I don't mind it. I think that it's cute and all that. Well, again, I haven't come across really any woman, as I explained in one of my previous videos of why I'm single now, that I'm really, really interested in developing a long-term, intimate, and loving relationship with. And a classic example is why I don't do that is because of seeing what all of these wimpy guys put themselves through when they're going through life and they're in a relationship. So, guys, here's the thing. what we got to change? Okay, well, first of all, we got to let boys be boys. We got to let men be men, all right? We got to understand that, men and women are different, and they provide different roles and talents and skills in society. We can't go ahead and just change things around and say, oh, men should be more like girls or women should be more like men and all this other stuff. I mean, yeah, there are middle grounds. There are guys who are naturally more so feminine and able to make something spectacular of themselves, like Prince, and there also are women who are more so masculine, and they're like those girls, those women who are living out in the woods by themselves, and they're handling survival skills being out in the wild like you expect a men 200 years ago to do. But in general, women are women and men are men. Okay? I'm not saying that, we should be separated because of gender, but just understand that we're different. Men and women offer different things to the world. We shouldn't create this whole idea in which boys should dress like girls and girls should dress like boys just for the sake of diversity or whatever. Just let nature do what it is supposed to do instead of changing nature. And also, the second to last thing I talked about, is that moms, let the son have his father in his life, okay? Unless the father, he is someone that would be a horrible father and a horrible influence to your kids or whatever, then he needs to have a more positive male role model in his life, okay? You understand that you're not going to be able to raise a real man on your own. You need to have a real man in that boy's life to teach him how to be a man. Otherwise, in a lot of cases, your son is going to turn out to become a boob, and he's going to continue to stay with you even when he's 35 or 40 years old, because you haven't given him the skills and the shaping up that a man would provide so that your son can become a real man. I hear from women say all the time, I hear from women say this about their sons: no matter how old you are, you're always going to be my baby. Well, here's the thing, is that if your son is going to actually lead a good life, he's not going to grow up to become a baby when you keep treating him like a baby. He's not going to grow up to become a man if you keep treating him like a baby. He's going to become a grown little baby. And the last thing again is that, guys, you got to understand this. When it comes to women, you got to set up boundaries and expectations with them, okay? You got to let them know that, hey, if you're going to be with me, you have to bring something to the table and show me that you're just not here to take what you can from me, okay? I'm not interested in that. You also have to bring me something to help enhance my life, and I will help to enhance yours, and we'll work together in this direction together. All right? And again, don't be afraid to be out on your own. I'm not afraid to be out on my own. I mean, I like being single as of right now. I have more time to reflect. I have more time to pursue what I really want and just keep moving forward, bettering myself. And I don't really need someone else to give that to me. I can give that to myself. I mean, I'm open to other people and what they have to say if they actually have anything to say. Outside of that, I don't really care. I'm just going to do me. And if some woman comes along who I think has what I'm looking for, as far as being a lifelong partner and being an intimate partner, then I'll settle down. I'll see about getting to know her and testing her out over time. And then when we become more settled out and comfortable and really close to each other, then I'll consider developing a lifelong relationship with her. Anyways, that's why I thought it would be a good topic for today. Because it's especially relevant right now with all these wimpy men around the world. So guys, take advice for what I say. And I'm not just saying this out of my ass. I'm saying this based on what older guys who are actually real men have to say, and what women who are being honest about what they want have to say. So anyways, hope you liked this video and got some good stuff out of it. Share it to some other guys you might think are pussies that need to hear this, okay? Anyways, peace out, everybody.